order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Aransas Pass, March 18, 2019, at 6 p.m. Let's rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Father, thank you for your love and your mercy, and for loving us, my Father, and putting up with us at times, my Father, of what we do and how we react to each other, my Father. I pray for your mercy, for the healing, my Father, in all of this tragedies that have taken place, my Father. Send your comfort, my Father, to be with the families that have lost loved ones, and with those, my Father, that are injured, that you be with them. May they feel your love, my Father. I pray your guidance upon us, the City Council of Aransas Pass, my Father. We have a monumental task in front of us, my Father, to help our city move forward as it has been. We ask for your guidance, not only for us, but also for our city manager and our department heads, my Father, that you guide us to make the right decisions for our city. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we're going to go to a presentation of a check by Sherman King, Aransas Pass Lions Club, and David Christopher Kingsville Noon Lions Club in the amount of $46,300 for improvements at our Harbor Park. Yes, sir. I'm just excited. It's okay. I'll wait.
If I may,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say that we've got $2,000 more to make it $48,000.
Wow.
That's the actual number that we had. Regarding Lions Club International, this event happened on August the 25th. On the 24th, Lions Club International Foundation actually mobilized their committee and initially put in a $100,000 emergency catastrophic grant, which we had in our bank within about 24 hours. From that point, we've done almost $1.4 million in South Texas.
Wow.
Almost 300,000 in the Rockport, Aransas Pass, Port Aransas, greater area there. So this is part of the last of our funds, and so we're getting in under the wire there. This is the third of four major grants that we've been able to work with. Lion Sherman has done over 25 homes to the tune of $3,500 apiece and rebuilt. And he's got some of the Lion Club members here from Aransas Pass. And I have my second vice district governor. She didn't have to travel far. She's from Ingleside. And I guess I'm the farthest traveled from Kingsville. But we're very pleased to be working with y'all. And I would like to go ahead and present this to you.
Why don't you go around and get a picture?
Okay.
Go around now. You go.
Why don't you go around there and get a photo op with everybody?
Now come around.
Okay.
That's a real good idea, Howard. That's a good idea. Okay, let's photobomb.
Yeah, right. Where's Jeff?
Immortalized forever. There we go.
mind collecting food for every Thanksgiving. We collect food for the needy. On Flag Day, we sell flags for trying to help our club. We collect on the White Cane Day for the eye transplants in Houston and for all types of stuff. We're always good, but the more people we have, the more we can do. So we always need members. We need to really get about 20 more members, and that definitely goes for all of y'all.
Sure enough.
Thank you, Sherman.
Now we're gonna go to Gary.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I want to take this opportunity to introduce you to someone, our new planning director who is in the audience tonight. Before she comes up, I want to tell you a little bit about Brenda Hoyas. She is her most current position, the position she had to drop because of accepting a position with us, is as an inspector for the Railroad Commission of Texas. Previous positions, City of Corpus Christi project planner, also Historic Downtown Coalition of Brownsville project director, and the City of Brownsville intern in planning and parks and rec. So I'd like to introduce you to a person we'll all be working with very closely. Brenda Hoyas, you want to come forward?
I just want to say that today I have met nothing but glowing, ecstatic people, and that just makes me want to work here even more. It's been a great day, and I'm sure it's going to continue like that because I do see a lot of passion in a lot of people that I've met so far today. So I appreciate the opportunity of being here.
Welcome, great. Welcome, welcome.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now we're gonna go to Mr. Gary again.
Several items, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. First is related to July 4th, and we're asking that you not act on the actual agreement that you normally act on each year, but need to select a date for the event. And Charles Ochoa, you want to come forward? Charlie's going to have to tell us what dates are available and need to get input from you on what dates you want. July 4th, I know, is not available from what you said. And what dates are available?
Good evening, Gary. Thank you for
Absolutely
inviting me here, council member and mayor. It's that time of year again. We got to start planning for these shows with my company, and to answer your question, July 4th, that's always taken by Rockport. That's been theirs forever, and that you can do it on that day, but you'll be competing with their show. The other days available is July 3rd, the day before. Now Kiewit's Kiewit always does one, but they don't let me know the last minute when they want theirs done, and I'm just going to guess that they're going to want to do it on July 3rd because their people are off on the 4th. We can do a simultaneous day shows on the 3rd as well, and then of course the 5th is available, which is Friday, and the 6th is available on Saturday as well. So those are the days that I'm putting out there. Now, you can do it the weekend before, weekend after. I mean, that's up to how y'all want to plan this. This is for the citizens of Aransas Pass. Y'all are very considerate about them doing the show and not having the next day to sleep in late or whatever they want to do. So that's it. That's what I got.
We need input for the council on which day you prefer, and then we'll be bringing an agreement back to you at the next council meeting. I believe it's in, actually you sent it in, I believe.
I emailed it to you.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So it just came in, and we'll be bringing it to you at the next council meeting. But right now, we need a date.
I like the 3rd.
The 5th is Friday, right?
5th is Friday.
Friday, yeah.
Then 4th of July's over.
I was gonna say
I'm
yes.
just asking.
Then it's over with. That's just my opinion. Whatever. Whatever you want, Mayor.
No, I don't care. Makes me no difference. That's whatever. The 3rd is fine.
What do y'all think?
The 5th is Friday, you'd have a
The
lot
5th is
you'd
Friday.
have a lot of families in town.
Right, that's
you know,
true,
so
that's true.
That's one consideration.
Weekend.
Yeah, you
Um,
got the whole
But
weekend.
you're right, it's after July 4th, so.
You can't say July 4th celebration.
No, you could say let freedom ring or something like that, you know, the day after, I don't
Well, a
know.
lot of communities are doing that my company does this for, because something conflicts with that day, so they're waiting to the weekend, it's, the freedom show or whatever, that's
Yeah.
exactly what they're doing, yes, ma'am, so.
Well, I guess being on Friday
I
is
think
good
Friday's
for the
best-
weekend
best
crowd.
bet, yeah.
What about the weekend before, like on the 28th?
That would be in June.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
I think Friday.
Flip a coin? Friday's
Flip a
good.
coin.
I like
Friday's
Friday.
fine.
Let's
If
flip a
y'all
coin.
think Friday's okay.
Sounds good
Wednesday
to
or
me.
Friday, I'm good with either one.
I'll go with Friday.
And you can still pop fireworks on after the 4th of July?
Oh, yes, yeah, we just, what it is a permitting issue, I've gotta get a date set, so I get the permit from the state. Okay.
Are we hearing Friday? Is that what we're hearing?
How does
I think
everybody
Third or
here
Friday,
feel?
I don't care. What do
Now,
you-
take this in consideration too, folks, in the case of a bad weather, next day deal, so you gotta consider the next day. If we have, say, pick the Friday, and I can't fire it that night, we're gonna have to fire the next night on Saturday. So that's how the contract is structured. Not to say we're gonna have any problems, we never have, so.
Favor of the
I'm good
council?
either way.
I'm either way,
What
whatever.
about you?
Well,
You're not happy.
Somebody.
well,
I think it'd be best before, like the 3rd.
Yeah.
I'm good on the 3rd.
I'm fine
Can we
with
have it in the
that.
form of a motion?
No,
So now we're hearing the 3rd. Is that correct?
I don't know anymore.
But if you
It
do
comes
it,
to-
Charlie, if they do it on the 3rd, then if something happens, you have the 5th, of course, to
Right.
fall back on in
Right.
case of bad weather.
Right.
So,
and that's the same night that Kiewit does theirs.
Yes. Kiewit's probably gonna do theirs on the 3rd.
On the 3rd,
I can almost
on the
guarantee they
3rd.
will. Yeah.
So if we do ours on the 5th, then
Anybody else doing it on the 5th?
No.
no.
And see, that's the other thing, people, I have fans in this community, and they like to go from show to show every night.
Right.
If there's 3 shows in a row, that's cool, So it's up to y'all.
so we're hearing the 3rd. Is that correct?
This shouldn't,
Third-ish.
shouldn't be this difficult.
Make the motion, Carrie.
No, I want to do it when everybody else wants to do it.
We're all okay with the 3rd or the 5th. I think all of us said that, right?
3rd or the 5th. Vicky, what
I
do you
know
like?
you want it before.
3rd or the 5th?
I'd like it before.
Yeah.
The 3rd.
That's what I'd like.
Okay. And I make a motion that we have the July 4th, 2019 fireworks on July 3rd.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye, aye,
Lordy
aye.
dee.
Give you one right of all of them.
Yeah. That's right.
Thank you for your time.
Kinda sounds right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, and I'll be here next meeting.
Next meeting, yes.
All right.
Next time we'll have our daughter pony show.
Mayor and council, next item is something that has been discussed at an earlier work session dealing with conflict of interest, disclosure laws. This is, part of this is dealing with the announcement of why an abstention is necessary. That was part of the discussion. But Roxanne looked at it and made some additional very good inclusions into this piece of legislation. But that's what is before you. It has been discussed at a work session.
understand. Before, when we get the agenda before the meeting, we're supposed to have the form already filled out if we're going to abstain for
Yes, you can
a
turn,
conflict
yeah.
of interest.
Yeah, the way that the disclosure laws read is that you're supposed to turn in your abstention form before.
Before the meeting, okay.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the conflict of interest disclosure laws.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Bear with me as I move down the line here. Okay. Next item is some guidelines. And your city secretary did an excellent job in putting this together. It is some guidelines which was presented to the HOT committee, the recommending body. And they unanimously, Mary, approved these guidelines for your approval, simply a recommendation to you. So that's what's before you right now. Prior to these guidelines, there were no guidelines. This certainly clarifies what they can and cannot do. And it would be best, obviously, if you were to approve these or reject them, whatever. But that's what's before you at this time.
Well, I'm very happy to see number 2, that after the money has been spent, that there has to be an accountability report turned into the city. I was stunned that that was never done before. So I'm
That's
very
a
happy on that one.
Critically important
It
issue.
is.
Most states do that.
Yeah, we did it in Florida.
It makes perfect sense.
So I will absolutely make a motion that we approve the application and guidelines for use of hotel occupancy tax revenue.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Sure. So before development services. Okay, fine. Okay. We're talking business over here. I apologize. Next item is bear with me a second here, the audit review for municipal court. This proceeds with the audit. And when we say audit, we're simply talking about managerial issues as well as financial issues as far as recommendations for making the municipal court even stronger. So that's what's before you if you agree to adopt this particular audit and move forward with it.
I make a motion that we approve the professional service agreement with the City Hall Essentials to conduct a review of the 2016 municipal court audit in the amount not to exceed $3,000.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. And next item, I want to go through this briefly. I want to just hit the highlights, but when the budget was approved, you also approved a number of goals for the departments. I'm just going to hit the highlights to let you know that those goals are moving forward and being accomplished. And you had goals also, and I want to tell you where your goals were, where mine were, and the various departments. Won't go through all of them, but we'll just hit the highlights. We'll take just a couple of minutes to do that, if I may. And in the case of your goals, for example, your goals included dewatering sludge removal equipment, sewer plant, lift station upgrades, replacements, demolition program, 1 code enforcement officer, server hardware refresh, software upgrades, obtain a ladder truck. A lot is being accomplished in all of those areas. The dewatering, we're going through FEMA to accomplish that, and also the drying beds, we're working to accomplish those through an SEP program. So that is moving forward. The lift station upgrades and replacements, that's moving forward with FEMA. And demolition program, you know the status of that. Very large amount of success in that area. 1 code enforcement officer hired. Server hardware refresh, 60% complete. Software upgrades, 25% complete. And the ladder truck, as we all know, that has been purchased. So that is another accomplishment. So that's moving along. Your goals are moving along very well. And I can safely say, and we're halfway through the year, can safely say that virtually all the departments, their goals are at least halfway completed with all the various goals. Under the city manager's goals, complete environmental work at Con Brown, moving forward nicely, and that is a lot is being accomplished there. Work to strengthen the budget, that's ongoing. Retail and housing in the community, mixed success there. Working toward building a permanent EOC for the city. We'll know about that in just a few days. Improve infrastructure at Con Brown, that's done. Complete comprehensive plan, done. Complete webpage, done. Downtown development, not started yet. And attract a movie multiplex to Aransas Pass. They're out there surveying right now. So that is done. Community cleanup underway. We're going to be talking about that just a little bit more at the end of this particular session. IT, we've already talked about, 60%, 25% completed. Finance department, their goals and objectives for the most part, mostly completed. In the case of one, for example, one goal, excellent customer service in all departments, work toward that. Daily briefings now as far as customer service goes. And maximize return on investments without sacrificing safety. The council approved an investment policy. Other things, but that's just a couple of highlights from the finance department. Moving along very quickly, the municipal court, their goals and objectives pretty much halfway completed. We're halfway through the year. In the case, and you, by the way, you have all of the reports from the departments in front of you there. I put them in front of you. In the case of the goals and objectives for the police department, they are meeting all their goals and objectives as of this moment. Much of it ongoing, but being met, being out in the community and making themselves visible in the community. Animal control, hired a new animal control officer, April Silva. Other goals are ongoing, and the new animal control officer soon will be on her own. In the case of the fire department, a lot being accomplished there also. Become branded in the community, that was a goal. They're increasing their Facebook presence quite a bit, almost 4,000 followers as of today. And increasing visibility in the community, doing CPR training in the community, collected for MDA open house, and applying for a SAFER grant, and obtained a ladder grant, a ladder truck, and that is completed. The brush truck also being worked on right now will be completed soon. Library goals are all met right now. With the, in fact, they are all met 100% as of this date. The Civic Center contracted work is complete. Rate increase you recently approved, and the Aquatic Center about 90% complete as far as repairs go. The building department, you know what's happening there. The department's being streamlined. Demolitions are a big part of what they're doing, and much progress being made as far as certifications go in that department. Staff members are being certified, which had not been the case. That is the case. It's not a matter of working toward it. That's being accomplished right now, or has been accomplished right now. The planning department, of course, there are changes in that department. We have a new person, as you just saw. Complete and adopt the comprehensive plan. That's done. And adopted new flood insurance rate maps and update flood prevention ordinance accordingly, underway in our work with FEMA. And text amendments, zoning map amendments, some are accomplished, and annexation, that's something we have to talk further about. Public Works, a lot has been accomplished there. A lot of staff development and training, a lot of it, a lot of certifications being obtained. Roads and Beasley water and sewer extension, scheduled to begin March 20th. City infrastructure improvements, working with FEMA to make repairs to the storms system and looking into funds from CDBG. And then the paving of Con Brown, that has started. So that gives you an idea of where we are halfway through the year. I want to spend just a little bit of time, since we're halfway through the year, And I did not hit all of the highlights, but wanted to point out where we are, and they are moving nicely. By the end of the year, we'll be almost 100% completed as far as the goals. These goals are very important. First time it's been in the budget, and we'll continue to do that. So that's all I have on that.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Gary, are these goals going to be posted on the website anywhere?
We will be, absolutely, because all of this has just come in,
Right.
but we will be posted on the website,
Okay.
yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, wait.
Okay, now we're gonna go to community enrichment. Community enrichment includes the following: Civic Center, aquatic facilities, library, and senior center.
Mr. Mayor, is it possible, if we could ask the police chief, he's got to leave, something just came up, if he could, his part could come up right now, if you're okay with that, Mayor and Council? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Sorry, Sarah, I owe you lunch. So for public safety reports, and again, this report, like every month, will post online so people can go read it in more detail there online. Major standouts were, of course, we had that bad crash, that fatal. We had the third guy clinging on. He did not pull through. So it was a 3-person fatal. We are communicating with TxDOT too to see if there are any other creative ways we can cut down that, like the EMS director said, former director now, Steve Knight, he has not seen more fatals in his history than in that location right there. It's a very dangerous area on that roundabout there. We participated in the warrant roundup, as the judge had brought up. We ran a good search warrant on a drug dealer. Popped her. We shared it. Mary Jo was her name. In fact, we just got another pretty sizable dope bust today. We'll be releasing information on that publicly tomorrow. We had some U-Haul bandits that were going around breaking into U-Hauls. We got lucky. They drove up on me and the assistant chief when we were just parked in a parking lot discussing another matter. So we recovered them and closed a bunch of cases. Actually, we didn't. My staff closed a bunch of cases for several communities around us. We had a sex offender who decided he was going to reoffend, so we filed a good case on him. That case is blossoming. We're going to take it as far as we can. We might get several more offenders involved with maybe potentially perping. It looks like to us that they were collaborating together and trying to find people to offend on. We had some great training. Lieutenant Colonel Grossman was one of our highlighted training for that month, and we have been working on the SRP drills, the standard response protocol for an active shooter, something of that nature. We've been working closely with the school on it. School is doing amazing. We are very, very pleased with the response of our students and our staff. They are great. The city staff did wonderful as well, and we're going to continue on with that. But anyways, I don't want to get into the numbers. You can see that all online. If you look at our reviews on our surveys that we do, we got a 7 ding on one of our surveys, but all the rest of them were 10s, and there are explanation as to what the people said when we talked to them that's there for you to read, and then a breakout of all the events. But that's all I have for you, Mayor and Council, and if you have any questions, if not, I'm going to jet for my wife.
Is pizza being delivered?
Do what?
Is your pizza being delivered?
If it was, then I would have to avoid my wife's meeting and go home for the pizza. But no, it's not. But thank you, Mayor and Council.
Okay, now, come back to Sarah.
Okay. Sarah.
Shirley.
Good evening, how are you, Mayor, Council? Okay, what I have coming before you tonight is an action item for 3 change orders needed at the for the Civic Center repairs. Change order number 3, 5, and 6. Are y'all looking at the memo?
Yep.
So they're listed all out for you. Did y'all have any questions about those? Do you want me to read through them? I'm happy to. So I can. So change order number 3 is to replace patio lamp fixtures and replace the flagpole. The cost on that is $14,420. The original scope of work for project, including repairing these items. However, once the project was started, it was determined that the items were damaged beyond repair, so replacement is required. That is 90% refundable by FEMA, that work. So just to let you know that that's 90% refundable. Change order number 6 is to replace 2 parking lot poles found to have structural damage. That is, has price tag of $6,685. That is also 90% refundable by FEMA. That is on the current DDD for the project. And then change order number 5 is to replace the EIFS accent band around the building. That's a stucco band. It did have some damage from the storm, but it was determined that that was not put on originally correctly. So we need to go ahead and get that work done, and that will come out of our building maintenance project for budgeted for this fiscal year. And then and the price tag on that is $5,400. If you go down to financial impact, I just want to point out a few things. The original scope of work did have a $50,000 allowance for change orders, of which we've only used about $5,000. So all of this cost will come out of that original allowance. If we do all these change orders, 26,000 of that will come out of the remaining 44,000. So we will still be getting back $18,000 from the contractors at the end, or not paying that in, but seeing that money come back to the city from the original contract. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you all might have. But again, this isn't going to change what we have originally contracted the cost of the job.
Any questions?
No, I make a motion that we approve change order number 3, 5, and 6 for repairs at the Civic Center.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Now we're gonna go to Sandra. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm going to try and make this short and sweet, as I usually do. This month, in February, we've had 107 building permits, and I kind of skipped by the fees, tried to, but we've had about almost $1 million in permits for commercial and about $500,000 for residential. And you can kind of see everything else just kind of evens out throughout permits. One interesting thing, in 2018, we had 2,230,000 permits. This year, we've been holding our own, but this is the first month we're actually ahead of last year, right after the hurricane. So we're about 35,000 ahead of last year's permit for this month.
Good.
That's about all I've got. I've got some past business associates that have called me, and I'll talk with Gary probably tomorrow, but there is some interest in Aransas Pass for developers, meaning apartments. So
Good.
I'm hoping
Okay.
this will pan out, at least out of one of my contacts. So, any questions?
No?
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Good evening. We're gonna go over the financials for the month of February. I'm gonna take you down to that overall. Overall, our revenues, we didn't meet our budgeted revenues for the month. But our expenditures were considerably a lot less than we had anticipated in the budget. So overall, you'll see that we budgeted $1.3 million in revenues, but in revenues, we actually got 1.2, so we were about $100,000 difference. Our expenditures for the month budgeted were $1.2 million, and we only expensed $900,000, so that's a big difference. So Mr. Edwards is still letting the department heads know at our meetings that we need to tighten our belts. We haven't loosened that up, and he is still, telling us to be mindful of our spending. So that you'll see that as to why we're still in pretty good standing, even though we haven't been able to we didn't meet our revenues for the month. The next slide is just our budgeted revenues versus our actual expenditures, and you'll see that none of the departments met what we had budgeted. And the following slide would be the expenditures and you'll see that the expenditures are considerably down versus the budgeted amount. Now, my next favorite slide, okay, this is my new favorite slide, by the way. This is the property tax collected. Property tax collected year to date, $4 million. Last year, the same time, we had collected 3.7 million. The year before that, 2017, we had collected 3.7 million as well. So our collections are doing good for property tax, which is good, because remember, we use that money for our maintenance and operation for the city, and also for our debt service to pay our bonds. So we're doing good there. The next slide is the sales tax. We need to understand that 2018 is an outlier year for us. After the storm, we had a surge, an increase in our sales tax. We knew that was gonna go down, and we have started seeing that. But if we compare 2019 to 2017, which is a good year, which is our normal year, you'll see that we are still up. We have grown, we have maintained some of that sales tax base that we saw last year by the tune of about $36,000. So we're in the right direction. Even though we're less than 2018, we're better than 2017, which is what we really should be comparing ourselves to. And then the following slide, which one is it? Okay, that's gonna be everything. That's the sales tax year to date that we've collected for the city, the municipal development district, the crime control and prevention district. That's all the sales tax. That's the 2 pennies right there. The city collects 1 penny, MDD collects ½ a cent, crime board collects another ½ a cent. So that's the 2 pennies combined right there, that slide. Do you all have any questions for me? No?
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna go to the fire department.
Council, last month, fire department had 54 calls. 8 of them were fire calls. One of those were we needed a ladder truck, so we had to call Portland. They came, help us out, so good purchase on that ladder truck. Yeah, so 32 calls. We had 32 medical calls last month. 3 of those were false alarms. So last month we only had 50. This month 54. So it went up a little bit. The next page, it's kind of more of a breakdown of exactly what we had. It tells you exactly what kind of calls we had: gas leaks, power line wrecks. That's on the next page if you want to see that. Training, we had about 37 classroom hours on training last month, and that's about total of 100 hours for last month per firefighter. And that's also it breaks down exactly of what kind of training we've been doing, if you want to see that. We had 14 fire inspections last month. A lot of businesses are still, repairing a lot of things from the hurricane, so I'm giving them time to do that before I go back and hit them on some stuff. So trying to work with them there. So that's all I got. I mean, anybody has any questions about anything? Those fire calls or. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna go to city council for staff announcement.
We already did.
Staff has announcement. I believe there's at least one city council announcement. Carrie, is that right?
Oh, yes. I wanted to clarify from the last meeting, I had made, the motion on the floor was to approve or not approve of Aransas Pass project graduation receiving $10,000 from the city. That was the item that was on the floor. And I wanted to clarify that the council voted to not do that. I, at the last second, said, no, I didn't agree with it. I want to clarify that I absolutely agreed with their decision. It was Olivar's decision to not grant them the $10,000. We couldn't do it for whatever reason. The reason I'm saying this is that in my thoughts at the time, I wish that they would have asked for a lesser amount. They did not. I would have liked, as a council, as a city, been able to give them something. They did not. It was not our position or my position to ask them for that or to lesser their amount or whatever. It was their responsibility to do that. So I don't know if I'm making sense, but I wanted to clarify that, yes, I stand with the council in that the decision to not grant the $10,000, which we do not have, was correct. All right.
Unless there are other council announcements, there is one announcement related to the next work session. That's scheduled for March 25th. There are two agenda items as of this moment. One is there was a citizen suggestion, and I've run it by Burl, and Burl likes the idea of, in the case of demolitions, the cost and fees associated with demolitions. And that's something I'd like to look at more closely to possibly make it even more attractive and less cumbersome financially. But that's something I want to talk with you about in the work session. The other issue is, an email came in today from one of you, and carries a lot of weight, I think, and that is the issue of cleanup in the community and other debris piles that are around town, et cetera. And what can we do to, and we've tackled this in the past, but this is an ongoing issue. It's something we're going to have to stay on top of. But want to talk about that, and if at all possible, want to bring Bill in with Absolute Waste and get his input on possible options that we can look at to continue this effort and not just stop after one go-around in the community, for example. So I want to talk about that in more detail and see what options are available to us. Those are the two items for the work session. It's possible we could add another item or so, but no plans as of this moment other than those two. March 25th and 5:30 is when we normally do a work session. So that would be the scheduled time for this one also. In other words, a week from tonight.
Can we bring Corey in on that meeting also?
I just didn't mention him, but I would anticipate he would be here.
Okay,
Absolutely, yes. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm not scheduled to be here at that workshop unless the city council is asking that I be. And I don't think the city manager needs me either. Just to be aware.
No, I think it's just open for discussion and it's,
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't get in too much trouble, can we?
I'm going to choose county commissioner not to answer that, but demolition is just so important to me. So
Yes,
so
it
I
is,
thought
and
I
you're
would
doing a
offer.
great job.
I'll answer it. Hold my beer.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That's it? Okay, now we're gonna go to citizen comments. Citizen comments are intended for the matter that's not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Be advised, the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the city council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make a statement of factual information, recite existing policies, advise that this subject may be placed on the agenda for a subsequent meeting. Okay.
What?
All right, so now we're gonna go into executive session, section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, to meet with his attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the city council under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act relating to City of Aransas Pass versus J.M. Davidson's Ltd. RLI Insurance Company and Naismith Engineering, cost number S-14-6278-CV-C in the 343rd Judico District Court in San Patricio County, Texas. Count Brown Harbor leases, possible annexation, and the water tower.
Okay.
And it is 6:44, and we shall return.
Okay, okay.
We're gonna reconvene open session at 7:46.
No action necessary.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bye, Lisa.